Good morning and welcome to the class. Today we are going to study Kohler's insight theory, or it is also known as as contributed by Gestalt. Combinedly, it is known as Gestalt psychology. So it is a part of educational psychology, and the learning outcomes for today's class will be to define learning and its basic conditions, because these are the learning theories which we are going to study in the coming classes, to explain various theories of learning and their educational implications, to discuss the various components of insight theory, how this theory came into being, who are the contributors who have contributed in this theory, and what kind of experiments were carried out, and how is it useful in our educational area. So let us, before that, starting with the insightful learning, let us discuss what is learning basically. So the word learning, when is asked to us, something, few things come to our mind, like learning to write, learning to read, learning to act, or to use a computer, learning how to use guitar. So each one of us learns something or the other intentionally or accidentally, sometimes accidentally by observing. Also, we have studied in the other theory by Albert Bandura. So learning situations are most natural and common in our life, and learning goes on a whole of the life. So every moment you learn something or the other because of the variety of experiences. So in the educational process, the central idea is learning. So a child learns from its birth and goes on learning throughout his lifetime. So, example, a child approaches a burning matchstick and the child burns his hand and withdraws. So, another time when he comes to a burning matchstick, he takes no time to withdraw himself away, because he has learned that how to avoid not only the burning matchstick but also all burning things, or to be careful in everything. So, child has learned that he will get hurt or burnt in this way. The change of the behavior of an individual occurs through direct or indirect experience. So this is how the learning takes place. And in psychology, the process by which a learning takes place is relatively lasting change in potential behavior occurs because of practice or experience. So the combinedly, it is known as the Gestalt theory of insightful learning. And the Gestalt was a group actually, and it consisted of four psychologists. So Gestalt theory, along with Kohler, Kafka, Max Wertheimer, was one of the principal proponents of Gestalt theory, which emphasized, and also Kurt Lewin, which emphasized higher order cognitive processes in the midst of behaviorism. So, Gestalt theory is considered under the category of cognitive theories, cognitive learning. And the term Gestalt itself is a German word which means an organized whole, in contrast to a collection of parts. So, this is how we learn. So, this is why these all psychologists have carried out their own experiments also. And this is how they have come to agree that the parts which they have learned, that depends that what do we learn in our life with our experiences, can be learned better if it is organized as a whole. So Gestalt psychologists consider the process of learning as a Gestalt and organized whole, or study in totality. So other name, we can say that it is a learning by perceptual organization. So whatever perceptions we have, created among our minds, so this is what we can call. So this theory has been, named as learning by insight, and it is the great contribution given by the Gestalt psychologists. And we have seen that who were these psychologists, and they began work in the working together to bring out the concepts of this insightful learning. So insightful learning is also known as Gestalt learning, which means that learning is concerned with the whole individual. and arises from the interaction of an individual with the situations or environment. Through this interaction emerge new forms of perception, imagination, and ideas, which altogether constitute insight. So, this is the inner learning part, the insight when we are awakened that yes, we know that what is how to learn. Suddenly, we know that how to carry out this. Experiment or this kind of execute the work we want to do. So basically it gestalt, as we have discussed that it is a German term, and there is no English word which is equivalent to gestalt, so that is why it has been given this name only. So the nearest translation of English, if we say about the gestalt word, it can be configuration, or more simple way we can say an organized whole. So they considered the process of learning as a gestalt, an organized whole. A thing cannot be understood by the study of its constituent parts, but only by the study of it as a totality. It is a basic idea behind this theory. So insight learning is a type of learning or problem solving that happens all of a sudden through understanding the relationships of various parts of problem rather than through trial and error. So Kohler called this cognitive process insight learning. Kohler has given this process as the name insight learning. Insight learning does not rely on behavioral or observational learning, but it is a purely cognitive experience. Cognitive means that we need to remember, that we need to retain the information on the basis of facts. So Kohler's theory of insight learning helped provide some early evidence to support the role of cognition in learning. So until and unless we understand something, we thoroughly understand the concept, we will not be able to learn this. So this is very important that we understand that why and how we are learning this process. So, for example, we can say we have heard about the famous story behind Archimedes' Eureka moment. That while bathing, he, suddenly remembered that he has found suddenly the different laws of science. And by saying Eureka, he just ran out on the streets. And if then there was other example like sudden realization of gravitational force after seeing a falling apple from the tree while the scientist was sitting uh, down the tree, and he was Isaac Newton, and he was the most important example, and suddenly the apple fall besides him, and he came to know that this is the law of gravitational force. So these are the famous examples of insight learning, the aha experience. Aha, now we know that what is correct, how we can proceed, how we can do. So let us now discuss the basic concepts of insight learning. So learning is purposive, exploratory, and creative enterprise in which the total situation is taken into account by the learner. A learning situation is a problem situation, and the learner can deduce the solution by insight if he perceives the situation as a whole. So by taking the situation as a whole, a learner can take proper decision in an intelligent way. So while learning, the learner always responds to the proper relationship rather than specific stimuli. Learning occurs spontaneously and suddenly by the development of aha insight. So these were the experiments which were actually carried out, and after this only this insightful learning theory came into being. So Kohler did an experiment in 1945, and he experimented with Sultan, the chimpanzee, who was caged with food strategically placed outside the cage. Some boxes and sticks were placed in the cage. Through some manipulation of these objects, which got Sultan nowhere, he seemed to suddenly figure out that the sticks could be joined to get the food. So what did he do? He used insight to solve the problems. Because when a person is in such a situation, which he got to know through Chimp the Sultan, because he was in the cage and Banana was hanging out from outside the cage, and there were boxes also. Now how that Chimp is going to get to the banana, because he is hungry? So by jumping, he could not reach to the banana. So suddenly he got an idea that what he can do with the available resources which he has in the cage. So he just got an idea and used the stick as a jumping platform by placing it just below the hanging banana. So in other experiment, Collar made this problem more difficult the next time, and he now he required 2 or 3 boxes to reach the banana. So moreover, the placing of one box over the other required different specific arrangements, and so banana was placed outside the cage of the chimpanzee. 2 sticks, one larger than the other, were placed inside the cage. One was hollow at one end, and so other stick could be thrust into it to form a longer stick. The banana was so capped that it could not be picked up by one of the sticks. The chimpanzee first tried these sticks one after the other, but failed. So suddenly he got a bright idea, and the animal joined the 2 sticks together and reached the banana. So in these experiments, Kohler used many different chimpanzees. Sultan, who was the most intelligent of Kohler's chimpanzees, could solve all the problems. So other chimpanzees could solve the problems only when they saw Sultan solving them. So he used 4 chimps in the experiments, that is the Chica, Grande, Console, and Sultan. So with these kinds of experiments, actually, such experiments, Collar concluded that in the solution of problems, his apes did not resort to just blind trial and error method, that this is not working, let's now do this. They just came up with the idea that whatever is available, they need to make use of that. So they solve their problems in an intelligent manner. So Collar used the term insight to describe the learning of his apes. So it is actually, insight development is generally facilitated by previous experience with similar problem. Insight also involves little bit of trial and error behavior. Insight formation is closely related to the intellectual development of the learner. The higher the intellectual level of the learner, the quicker will be the occurrence of the insight. So quicker will be the result, or the solution which we want. So insight learning involves understanding and reasoning about the problem. So this is what we need in our 21st century skills also. As a student, as a learner, we want them to learn the critical skills, the smart skills that they should understand. They should have proper reason behind everything, and they should give proper solutions to the problem which are given to them. So these are the steps in insight learning. First, the identifying of the problem. After that, understanding of the problem. Then the incubation of ideas, developing of ideas in our mind. Trial of mode of response. What kind of response will be there? Sustained attention. Insight development. Steady repetition of adaptive behavior. Comprehension of ability. So this is how, by going through these steps, we can say that we will be able to develop an insight to bring solution to our problem. So therefore, learning according to them is restructuring the field of perception through insight. So it has to come into our mind only. And as a whole, insight depends upon the following factors like experience, intelligence, learning situation, initial efforts, repetition, and generalization. So these are the characteristics of insight learning. It means survey of problematic situation, hesitation, pause, attitude of concentrated attention to the problematic situation, What is the mode of response? In case initial mode of response proves inadequate, trial of some other response, the transition from one method to the other being sharp and often sudden. So we need to be creative in bringing out various solutions to our problematic situation. Frequently recurrent attention to the objectives or goal and motivation, appearance of critical point at which the organism suddenly, directly, and definitely performs the required act, steady repetition of adaptive response, notable ability to discover and attend to the essential aspect or relation in the problematic situation, and to neglect relatively variations in non-essentials. So as we have discussed that these are the factors of insight learning, and the learner need to develop certain intelligence in them, because according to that only, according to their IQ only, they will be able to find the solution. What kind of situation is there? What efforts you are going to take? How much time you need to repeat so that you reach to the solution perfectly? Generalization of the problems. So these are the principles of Gestalt, actually psychology, which were given after the insight theory. So the first principle is the principle of figure ground. So what is the principle of figure ground? As we know that the human brain is actually exceptionally good at filling in the blanks in an image and creating a whole that is greater than the sum of its part. So it is why we see faces in things like tree, leaves, or sidewalk, or the clouds. So for figure ground, everything we perceive stands against a background. Example, we listen to a song against the background of the music. We are listening to a song, but what is actually going on in the background? That is the music. So we try to imagine things, we come out with the things that has certain, figure is there with along with the background. Okay. Then these principles actually, then there is the principle of Pragnus. Our perceptual patterns always tends to be simple, regular, and complete with no loose ends. So it is related to law of closure. So it is the law of closure, because it should not have any loose ends within. So we close along with the things which we are assuming. Law of transposition. It is the extensive changes without losing their identity. Then there is law of similarity. Similarity means it's human nature to group like things together. Whatever are similar things, we try to group them together. So in Gestalt, similar elements are visually grouped regardless of their proximity to each other. So they can be grouped, in the form of color, shape, or size. So similarity can be used to tie together elements that might not be right next to each other in a design. So of course, you can make things dissimilar if you want to make them stand out from the crowd. If you want someone to make things that are eye catchy or standing out. It's why we want our visitors, we want our students to get attracted to certain things, and for that we need to be prepared. So we can make things which are not similar, so that everyone is paying attention. Then there is a law of continuation. A human eye will follow the smoothest part when viewing any kind of things, regardless of how the lines or how the things were drawn. And this is how the law of proximity is also. So according to Gestalt theory, learning takes place when the learner organizes the separate parts of the perceptual field into a unified and meaningful whole. So the organization of the stimuli in the perceptual field takes place in accordance with four laws basically. That is the law of similarity, Law of proximity, how close everything is. Law of closure, that there are no loose ends. And then there is law of continuity. So we can say in the principle of closure, it allows our eye to follow something like a dotted line to its end. So this is the law of similarity, in which the elements that look similar we perceived as a part of the same form. Then there is the law of proximity, which says that elements that are placed close together are perceived as being more related than those spaced further apart. Then there is law of closure. Objects which are grouped together are seen as a whole. Then there is law of good continuation. So it holds the points that are, connected by straight or curving lines are seen in a way that the smoothest path, rather than seeing separate lines and angles, lines are seen that are belonging together. So these are the examples of the Gestalt laws: law of similarity, law of pregnance or the law of good figure, law of proximity, law of continuity, law of closure, the law of common region. Now, what is the educational implication of this kind of theory which have been developed by the Gestalt psychologist? What was the reason behind developing the insightful theory? Because these are all are known as the learning theories. Now, the teacher should present the subject matter as a whole so that they can facilitate insight learning among the learners. Because if we teach them only the certain aspect, and we do not present them with the whole aspect, we just leave them thinking that what will be the correct one, so this will not lead them for their insight learning. So use of blind fumbling and mechanical trial and error should be minimized. So you cannot just waste time of your students in the class just for passing time, or just thinking that trial and error methods to be used. If this method works, well and good, otherwise we will move on to next method. So every time it will not goes on with you in the class. While planning curriculum, a particular subject should not be treated as the mere collection of isolated facts, should be closely integrated into a whole. For example, we can say the subject of social studies. It is a combination of whole subject is a combination of 4 subjects, and then it has been integrated into one, that is the social science or the social studies. Teacher should motivate the child by arousing his interest and curiosity. Then only we can expect any learner to come out with good ideas in the class, develop an aha experience among them. Like, we are just trying to giving any kind of something, we are just mechanized, we are following the mechanized learning in the classes nowadays. But these the experimenters wanted us to know that what are the these implication of these kind of experiments which they have done in our classes. Then the learner must be given opportunities for using his mental abilities. If we do not do so, then how the learner will get opportunities, how they will develop the mental abilities? Learner task must be properly graded according to the intellectual development of the learner. In order to develop the ability of problem solving by insight, meaningful learning, learning by understanding and reasoning, these all things must be encouraged in school. The teacher must help learners to recall what has been learned earlier, relate them to the new learning. So this is how we will be able to integrate the whole whatever they are learning in parts. So we are trying to integrate everything in as a whole. The give goal oriented tasks to learners. So you should always do that. Knowledge as a continuous organization encourage the need of knowledge and freedom for acquiring knowledge. So this is very important, that just giving mere facts will not improve the knowledge of your students. You need to make them understand that they also have to find out various ideas, have to find out solution to the problems which arises before them. So this is, we can say the difference between the trial and error and insight learning. So trial and error learning, as a matter of connection between stimulus and a response. And whereas we can say insight learning is the organization of experience into cognitive structure. Trial and error learning recognizes practice as the basis of learning. Then only we will try and then make errors and then again try. So this is all based on the practice. And insight learning recognizes an individual's insight as the basis of learning. Trial and error learning gives importance to one's past experience. And insight learning, here you do not need to have any past experience. You can develop an idea anytime. Whereas in trial and error learning, learning is done through reinforcement. And in the insight learning, perception is the key concept. How do you perceive any situation? In trial and error learning, parts are fundamental, and in insight learning, the whole, the knowledge as a whole is the primary concept. So these are the differences between the trial and error theories and the insight learning theories. Then further going on, to explore the difference, trial and error learning is practice, based on practice and interest also, while the insight learning is very much based on the intelligence part. Emphasis is given on drill and reinforcement in trial and error, then only we will be successful. And in insight learning, the reasoning part, the understanding part, it is given more importance. In trial and error learning, it is best for reaction type learning and habit formation. And in insight learning, it is most suited for concept learning and problem solving. So this is how we can differentiate between these two kinds of learning which takes place. So if we talk about the educational implications further, the theory brings the following important facts into limelight, like the whole is greater than the parts, and therefore the situation should be viewed as a whole. The use of blind fumbling and mechanical trial and error should be minimized, and the learner should try to see relevant relationships and act intelligently. The purpose or motive plays the central role in the learning process. So based on the simple aspects of this theory, we can say the teachers are required to pay attention on many things, like subject matter, the learning material. It should be presented in gestalt form before the students. So while teaching the topic parts of a flowering plant or flower, it should not be started by presenting the different parts. Initially, the plant or flower as a whole should be presented before them, and later on the parts should be emphasized. So this is how we can implement the gestalt psychology in our classes. The greater contribution of the insight theory of learning is that it has made learning an intelligent task, requiring mental abilities also, instead of just getting automatic replies or responses to the stimuli given. So this will basically make your students to make use of their understanding and reasoning level. So these are the things which we should consider while studying about the Gestalt psychology. And as we know that it was found by Max Wertheimer, Wolfgang Kohler, Kurt Kofka, and Kurt Lewin. So these were the psychologists who began this experiment, this kind of psychology in 1890. And they decided that they didn't agree in principles of structuralism and behaviorism. That is why they came up with this theory, which is based on cognitive aspects, cognitive abilities. They argued that perception was more than the sum of its part, which is the main idea behind Gestalt psychology. So Gestalt, as we have discussed, is a German word meaning an organized whole that is perceived as more than the sum of its parts. The works, if we talk about this kind of psychology, has given as Wolfgang Kohler wrote the book Gestalt Psychology in 1935 based on these experiments which they have taken out. So Gestalt is something made of many things, but is more or different meaning when put together. So Gestalt psychologists study how sensations are put together in perceptual experience. So this means that they study how the brain notices or the whole of an object, not its part, and how on sequence lights like the we see that how the Christmas lights are decorated on the streets. So how we perceive them as a whole. Then there were certain problems also, like Gestalt is a way of think about things. So it has not truly caused actually uh, it has not encountered any major problems. So this is how we can say that technically it has not been used in the classes actually. So in modern day applications, if we talk about, it is being used in the design part, in the advertising part, the shapes and everything which we are talking about. So it is generally a school of psychology actually. And it has contributed along a lot in the psychology area. And the Gestalt psychologists were the first to demonstrate empirically and demonstrate many facts about the perception part, so including facts about the perception of movement and perception of contour, perceptual constancy, and perceptual illusions. So Vardhemir actually discovery of this phenomena is one example of such a contribution. So actually they practiced a set of various kinds of principles, like the principle of totality was the main theme of this theory, and conscious experience must be considered globally because the nature of the mind demands that each component be considered as part of a system of dynamic relations. So this is the whole actually which we see. So this is how the Gestalt psychology we have come through, and they have given us various kinds of aspects that what should be used in our classes, and what precautions should be taken by the teachers while giving freedom to all the students, because we want all our students to develop these kinds of skills which which can lead to understanding of the concept, not just a rote memorization. And for this you can go through various references which are given here, and you can go through various um, parts of e-Gyan Kosh which has been developed by IGNOU. Then you can go through international and national forums, so you will be able to better understand what kind of experiments were taken out. As we have discussed that 4 chimps were used by Kohler by while doing the experiments, and this is how they can find out about more, you can find out more about the Kohler's theory of insight. Let us now move on to our next aspect of our today's lecture, that is the evaluation questions. The first question is, the aha experience is associated with. So the options are classical conditioning, then insightful learning, then operant conditioning, or the sign learning. And the correct answer is insightful learning. So whenever we find an insight, find a solution to our problem, it gives a achievement kind of experience to us. So it is a comparative to aha, the feeling, yes, we have achieved that, yes, this is the correct solution we needed for our problem. So this is how aha experience is related with insightful learning. So it is a kind of an cognitive learning. The insight theory of learning is promoted by Options are Gestalt theorist, Pavlov, Jean Piaget, Vygotsky. And the correct answer is Gestalt theorist. They were the psychologists, the set of four psychologists who conducted various experiments, and combinedly their theories are known as the Gestalt psychology. The next question is, who is credited with popularizing the concept of insight learning? Who made it more popular? So the options are Wolfgang Kohler, Mozart, Freud, or Jean Piaget. So this we have discussed that Wolfgang Kohler was the one who carried out this experiment with the Sultan, the chimpanzee, and he made it popular, the concept of insight learning. Question number 4 is, insight learning is oftentimes an important aspect of. Options are inventions and innovations, trial and error learning, classical conditioning, replicating past solutions. And the correct answer is trial and error learning. But basically, it is different from trial and error learning because we have seen the differences between the trial and error learning and insightful learning. And insightful learning is much more based on perception and understanding or reasoning. And trial and error learning is based on, the habit formation, the experiments to be done again and again, the practice part. So we cannot, once you get distracted with something else and suddenly you get an idea, then it is an aha moment for us. So you have it. So humans aren't the only species that have these aha moments. And this we have seen that when Kohler carried out his experiment, then the chimpanzee was also experiencing the same. So insightful learning is process that leads to a sudden realization regarding a problem. Often the learner has tried to understand the problem but steps away before the change in perception occurs. So for example, we can say that if a girl wants to upload few songs in her iPhone, but as we know that iPhone has a special application for uploading of the songs. She has tried many times, but she is not able to upload the songs. Now, while she just found out that there are certain ways in which she can do that. Then after getting that solution, she just felt that she has received the solution, and just the thinking is going on in her mind, and she goes on for the walking. While walking, she suddenly came to that insight that yes, there is an iTunes store. If she uploads the song on that iTunes store connecting with your iPhone, then you can upload the songs very easily. And that was the moment, that was the aha moment for her, and this is how she came to the solution. So these are the various examples we can found in our references, through which we learn that what is an insight. Who is not associated with Gestalt's theory? The options are Skinner, Kafka, Levin, or Kohler. So among this, we can clearly identify that Skinner, B.F. Skinner, was not the one who was associated with the Gestalt's theory. The next question is, which of the following is not a law of Gestalt? The options are law of closure, law of proximity, law of good figure, or law of opponent processes. So the law of opponent processes is not a part of the law of the Gestalt principles. Kohler experimented with Dash the chimp, who was caged with food strategically placed outside the cage. What was the name of the chimpanzee? And the options are Sultan, Albert, Nova, or Star. So this is very famous that the Sultan was the name of the chimpanzee. The next question is, insight learning involves dash about the problem. What does it involve? The options are understanding and reasoning, educational implications, repetition, or learning skills. So the correct answer is understanding and reasoning. So these are the basic concept of insight learning, that the learner need to understand the concept and have some reasons behind it why they are giving certain solutions to the problem. The next question is, the term dash means an organized whole in contrast to a collection of parts. And the options are Gestalt, hierarchy, presentations, or documents. And the correct answer is, the term Gestalt means an organized whole in contrast to a collection of parts. So, a Gestalt word is a German word, a German noun, and it has no specific meaning in English. But if we come to a, we have discussed there that the nearest meaning is the study as a whole. So this is how it, the process of Gestalt. There are stages of insightful learning. And these stages are preparation, incubation, insight, and verification. So this is how we move in the, if we want to reach to the perfect solution to our problem. So first of all, that will be a preparation part. The process begins as you try to solve the problem. So this is the preparation of the solving of the problem. You have the materials and information in front of you, and you try to make connections between them. Okay. And although you see the relationships between the materials, things just haven't clicked yet. So you have not reached to the correct solution till now. And this is the stage where you start to get frustrated, that why we are not reaching to the correct conclusion. Then comes the next stage, that is the incubation. And during the incubation period, you give up for a short period of time. Although you have abandoned the project, your brain is still working on it. So you are making connections on an unconscious level at that time in your mind. Then the next stage is insight. When the right connections which you were trying to fix have been made up in your mind, the aha moment occurs at this stage. And eureka, now you have reached to the solution. And after that, what stage comes? The stage of verification, whether you have achieved the right solution. So now you just have to make sure that whatever solution, the epiphany you have received is right. You test out your solution, and hopefully it works. And this is a great moment in your learning journey. And the connections you make solving this problem are likely to help you in the future. So this is how, this depends on developing something creative also. So this is how the insight learning theory works. So with this, we come to the end of our topic, and hope you will be able to understand the various aspects of insight learning as given by Kohler and given in the Gestalt psychology. With this, we end the class. Thank you very much.